Hi there, welcome to Cosmic Soul Alignment. And on today's episode, we are welcoming back Bret and Kevin from the Astral Traveler Institute. They've developed a proven framework called the Wake to Projection Blueprint, which is a step-by-step system that helps you move from sleep to lucid dreaming to full astral projection. And we'll explore how it works, why it's different from other methods, and what you can expect on your first journey beyond the body. So welcome back, Bret. Kevin, it's lovely to have you again.
Thanks for having us back.
Hello.
Pleasure to have you. Okay, so we'll get into the Wake to Projection Blueprint in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you first, how long have you guys been working on this, and what made you decide to start work on this project? What about you, Kevin?
Beautiful question. Hey, Dawn. Hey, Bret. You guys look amazing. So going to your question here, well, you know, the framework or the system itself took us about 4+ months, maybe 4 to 5 months of actually practicing, figuring out what works, what doesn't. Those nights where we had those sleepless nights where nothing was working and we're trying to understand why is this happening, but just tweaking. Every night we practiced, we tweaked what worked the night before, what didn't work the night before, and we just parlayed that. We took baby steps. And before we knew it, 4 months went by to figure this stuff out. And, you know, we're happy that we were able to figure it out because, you know, we got to talk about the why. You know, it's the why that matters. And the reason why Bret and I came together, because we understand the frustration people have. If you look at the community, if you're looking at the Reddit forums or the Discord servers or just talking to people in general, they love this idea of going out of body consciously. But how do you get there? It's easy to talk about it, but actually doing is a challenge. So what most people do, they start to read books, they join a community. And the number one way people teach or talk about is something we call the direct method. I know we mentioned this last episode where you just like meditate and you spontaneously go out. Oh, I get it. So cool. That is such a cool method to go out body, but it's super difficult. And if you do a survey on how many people actually go out body that method, it's slim to none. It's very rare that someone can do it spontaneous on command. Mostly it happens spontaneously when people aren't really thinking about it or having that control. So there's this frustration we see over and over and over again. And, you know, I was part of that group where I practice every night without a single episode. And to want to talk about frustration, doing it for 10 months straight with no results.
Oh yes.
I can relate to that. And Bret and I, we see that on a daily basis. So when we found a framework, started developing this, we saw results and we knew we had something special here that we could present to the community to increase your chances of going out. And that's why we do what we do.
If you get anything you want to add, Bret, to that?
Kevin covered it pretty well. I mean, so there's a million guides online, and everyone kind of wants a quick fix, and that's one of the big problems with it. Because in this practice, there's some fundamentals that are necessary across all guides, but you do need to put a little bit of effort in. And our system does require a little bit of effort, but it's required of all of them. We're kind of piggybacking on a previous method that's well known called the wake back to bed method. Sorry. And yeah, so it's basically when you go to bed and you wake up early, kind of like we were talking a little bit in one of your previous experiences, where if you're waking up throughout the night, you can have a spontaneous out-of-body experience because you're interrupting that REM cycle. So we are capitalizing on that. We made a specialized timer to kind of wake you up at intervals in that period of REM when it's the longest, which is close to when you wake up in the morning or whenever your sleep cycle is. But it's at the end of your sleep cycle, and that's when it's elongated REM period. And you're closer to that. You have that awareness that's kind of closer to the surface. So what we are trying to do is to kind of hack into that and make you wake up a bunch of times to give you as many opportunities in one session that we can. And that's a bit different than what other methods tend to do and bring to the table. So we're just trying to give everybody the most chances possible in one period. And over multiple days when you do this, I mean, you can have multiple sessions in one experience. Like you can have multiple experiences in one session, basically. You can wake up multiple times. I had one time when it almost felt like I was having false awakenings. I kept waking up, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was in like astral projecting multiple times, and it was in the space of like a few minutes because of the alarm. So it can get you can have some wild experiences, and that's what we're trying to teach everybody about with this method.
Yeah. Just going back a little bit about what you said about, the going direct method. I know we talked about this the last time, and I discovered that I had done that a few times, much to my surprise. I had no idea about this method. And at that time, I think I was explaining that it happens to me when I've been physically exerting myself. My body is tired, but my mind's had so much oxygen. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And my body's like, oh, no, I don't think so. And it wants to fall asleep. And that is when I tend to head out of my body.
You nailed it. You nailed it. That is a technique. Get your body tired.
Tired.
You're basically spontaneously entering the mind awake, body asleep state, which is what we're also trying to capitalize on. And to be honest, most of the indirect methods all revolve around that, around bodily sleep. But you jumping into that naturally, that's awesome. That doesn't happen that often for many people. So yeah,
it's happened a few times. But maybe before we started recording here, we were talking about how your sleep affects this experience. And I was saying that I haven't had any of these out of body experiences naturally because we decided it was because I'm in winter at the minute and I get a better sleep. I'm sleeping really soundly. Whereas during the summer, it's so hot. You've got a restless sleep. And you said that'll be why, because it's, it's interrupting with your sleep cycle. And that's when it happens more naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Basically what you're doing is what our timer is trying to do. Like with our method, it's like you're naturally waking up, and in one of those episodes, your mind woke up and your body laying still. You went into a period of paralysis, like sleep paralysis, but maybe you didn't even notice it, and you just kind of launched out from there spontaneously. And that's happened to me sometimes too. But that multiple, like interrupting your sleep, even though you get less sleep, like when that happens to you, probably it wasn't that restful of a sleep, but you did get a good experience out of it. Yeah. But we try to keep the sleep restful as well as piggybacking on that idea.
Okay, so tell us about it, what you've developed and what you found from start to finish.
Go ahead, Kevin. You want to?
All right. So with this, like Bret already mentioned, the basic framework is that wake back to bed methodology. And all that means is you go to sleep, you sleep for 4 to 6 hours, then you wake up. The reason why you sleep for 4 to 6 hours is because we go through sleep cycles that are about 90 minutes long. In the beginning, you go through more sleep and deeper sleep and rejuvenated sleep. And at the end of the 90 minutes, close to the end of it, you go into REM sleep. And each cycle that you complete, shorter your restful sleep becomes and longer the REM sleep becomes. So by the time you're at 90 minutes, by the time you're done for 4 to 6 hours, you already completed about 4 or 5 cycles. So when you go back to sleep, more often than not, you're going to be in REM. Not only in REM, but you're going to be in REM for longer. So that's the first part of the system, of the framework, or the back to bed methodology. Go to sleep, go to sleep for 4 to 6 hours, wake up, and here's the thing. You stay up between 5 minutes to 60 minutes, whatever feels comfortable to you. And this is where we talk, there's some work required, there's some trial and error to find that sweet spot. What we're doing is we're waking up the mind just enough to create awareness, but not enough awareness where your body's up. So we're not saying go out, do some push-ups, get out of bed, go meditate. No, you stay in bed. And what we teach is when you're up, we start this thing's what we call the sleep calm down. It's a systematic process to relax your mind in a 15 to a 30 to like a 40-minute period. This gives you enough mental exercises to become aware, but those mental exercises allows you to start to calm down into a relaxed state. So when it's time to actually fall back asleep again, you can go to sleep fairly quickly. So we call that the sleep calm down. And all that is, it's just doing some mental exercises, some progressive relaxation, some deep breathing, some focused breathing. You could do some belly breathing. And we also reset our intention. So as you're focused breathing through your belly, we start to focus on our attention. Now I'm out of body, and you focus and do your breathing. I like to do the 4-7-8 method. This is a proven method within a empirical environment that shows it does relax the body. You inhale for 4, hold for 7, and you exhale for 8. You do that over and over again. Focus on your intentions. And for me, it takes me about 30 minutes. Everyone's different, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
And once you're ready to go back to bed again, that's where Bret mentioned that bridge timer. It's an MP3 file. It's about 2 hours long, and it has 9 intervals. And those intervals are systematically placed will give you the best results. Because what we're trying to do, like Bret mentioned, we're trying to wake ourselves up during that REM cycle, because that's actually a very light sleep, but we're not waking our body up. We're trying to wake up our awareness. So more often than not, when you hear the sound, the tones, you'll wake up into paralysis. Or if you do wake up and you're like, oh, I'm okay, when you fall back to sleep, you'll fall back into paralysis. And that's the key. We're forcing our bodies to get into a paralysis state, because that is a altered state of consciousness. And it's 1 foot in the astral, and it's 1 foot still in your body. It's a springboard. So the whole goal is to be aware enough to wake up in paralysis. Then from paralysis, that's when we can exit the body. And that's what separates our system from everyone else, is through this bridge timer that's been shown to wake people up. And just real quick here, one methodology that the bridge timer does, because of the different fluctuations within the tones itself. You know how you set your alarm? I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m. today, and you naturally get up at like 6:55, because your body knows, your brain knows, your consciousness knows time. And that's what that bridge timer is also doing. We go up, we go down, we go up again, we come down again with the times, because our body is expecting that timer. And when it doesn't hear that timer, it naturally wakes itself up. Mentally, it wakes up. And that's how we get into that paralysis state, because of those intervals on that timer. Then from there, when you're in paralysis, we have a whole protocol on what to do. And that protocol is separation. First thing you can do, it's the simplest, command it. I command myself out of body. If that doesn't work, you visualize it. I visualize myself floating up. I visualize myself doing a 180 and I can feel myself spinning. If that doesn't work, we
There's a
do
bunch.
yeah, we have a whole list.
Things
Then
to
we just,
try.
yeah, the last thing you do, and this is my personal favorite, is the physical exit, the rollout. And this is the most common thing you read about if you do any type of reading. It's the rollout method. And when you start to roll, it's the most sensational
It's weird.
experience you can never explain. Because
Yeah.
like Brett is already alluding to it. It's a
It's
weird
weird.
sensation, and you can't move. Like you can just start to feel yourself moving, but over time, if you start moving, you'll start to move more and more and more, and eventually you get over that tipping point, and you just naturally you fall out of your bed.
Yeah.
So I know it was a lot I just explained. That's from start to finish, but it's that simple. You go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep a second time, and you wake up multiple times through that bridge timer in hopes that you wake up or fall back into paralysis. So Brett, anything I missed you want to add, my friend, please do.
I just want to, because some people are kind of turned off and thinking that's like, there's so many things to do. I have to get up early. I got to like up my sleep. And that's probably the number one thing that like shies people away from it. It's not that bad though. It's like in our method, when we talk about it, we preferably, when you're trying it on a night, you don't want to do it every night, by the way. You're going to destroy your sleep. With wake back to bed, you can't do it every night. So you set aside a few times a week, a couple times a week. And even though you want to be doing your intentions every night, but for this, you go to bed a little bit early because we want you to have enough sleep, right? And then preferably towards the end of your normal sleep period. So when it's 4 to 6 hours, as far as you can get that to the end, towards that 6 hours, that would be the best since the REM period is the longest. So you're waking up a bit early, and then you have that sleep calm down that we talked about. And for everyone, this is going to be different. I mean, for me, I'm kind of a light sleeper, so I kind of wake up like quickly. And so I don't have to take that much time before like, okay, I'm setting my intentions and then I start the timer. So everyone's kind of a little bit different in that. And the feeling you're kind of looking for is like you're awake, but you kind of feel that heaviness, that kind of, it's like a weight over.
I know what you mean. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's when okay, my body wants to go back to sleep.
Yes.
And then like you start the timer and just fall asleep. The biggest problem that people tend to have is it happens for me too. It took me a bit. It's the anticipatory anxiety of knowing that like there's going to be a bunch of timers, and then it makes it hard to fall asleep.
Yes.
But and that's totally dependent on the person too. I mean, some people just fall asleep at the drop of a hat. It takes me a little bit. That's why we have a gap of time in the beginning for you to fall asleep. And also we have a guided one too, that I have a little bit of a guided information on like what to expect, what to do, like what kind of intentions to have, and just try to calm you down and make you and have you fall asleep. There's music in it too. And then when the timers wake you up, it's basically us going like, awaken, like it's now you're out of body. It's voices. It's not like a tone that's waking you up. It's someone trying to talk to you to get you out of body. And the reason we have those at different intervals is because you don't want a like repeating pattern, because for some reason it's like your subconscious, like Kevin was saying earlier, it knows when that alarm is and you wake up before it. Once you're used to an alarm, you just kind of automatically wake minutes before it. At least for me, I've always woken up before alarms. If you had a regular interval, it's kind of like your subconscious is like, I'm going to wake you up every time a little bit before it goes off. And then you're laying there and you're awake and then you hear it go off and it doesn't have as much of an impact. That's why we mix it up and we don't tell you the interval. I mean, preferably, you can look it up. We have that information too, but not knowing kind of makes it better because then your subconscious is like, hey, I don't know what. So you wake up in the middle of it and we have it numbered as well. So it'll give you the message to waken up and then it'll say 1, 2. We have each one numbered because that can be an indicator as well that you're out of body. If we have 9 and you wake up, it says it's time to wake up 12 and you're like, 12.
Sorry, I gotta laugh.
22.
That's a true
Yeah,
story.
it's like, wait a minute. Or you hear like one, and then the next thing you hear it says one. You're like, hold on. And that can be enough of like a mental kick to make you question what's happening. And even that questioning can kick off a
Yes.
spontaneous projection on its own. So we're trying to pack in a
Yes.
bunch of different things to help you get
Mhm.
out, in one session.
Yes.
Would it work for everybody? All of these methods, I mean, they're hit and miss. The wake back to bed one is one of the most common ones because it's one of the quickest and simplest ways for people to get out, even though it takes a little bit of effort. It's one of the most common, like, generalized techniques, because almost everybody, I mean, has probably had some point in their life when they've woken up by accident and been in paralysis, right? It's something that we all experience, or we
Mhm.
can experience randomly, right? So this is piggybacking off of that. It's not something where you're meditating to try to get out. That's difficult, or doing a bunch of affirmations over time to try to get into lucid states. This is just trying to wake you up into paralysis. So it's one of the simpler ones, even though it might take a little bit of effort. But that's why we developed onto this, because it has the chance of hitting the most people, right? And that's what we really care about. We want everybody to be able to experience it.
Mhm. I know that you're trying to, when you said, you wake up and you're in that sleep paralysis, you
Mm-hmm.
move into that state. Sometimes it can be really scary. And I think I mentioned this before, actually, that happened to me a few times. And I panicked, panicked
Yeah.
to start with, because I thought I was being, held down by some kind of, maybe even a demonic force, or, whatever I believed it to be. But then once you understand the cycle and how this works and the
Mm-hmm.
sensations it creates, then you can move into that, like I did, just totally changed, and woke up in that state, or found myself in that state, and thought, okay, I was conscious enough to remember, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to relax into it. Then the next thing, off I went. So it's not resisting, not resisting.
Yes. Yeah.
But I wanted just to go back before I forget what you said, Kevin, here about the roll out method. I've actually done that, and I've just remembered now since you said. I would been trying to, now I leave my body, now I'm fully out of my body, and when I didn't feel I was going anywhere, I think I got a bit impatient one time and said, well, I'm just going to stand up then. And I rolled, and I thought, oh, that worked. That worked pretty well. So that was the first time I ever did. I don't remember a weird sensation like
Oh,
you guys had
interesting.
described. I don't remember having anything weird. I remember just rolling over as if I was getting out of bed,
Yeah.
which was very interesting.
That can
Yeah.
happen. I
When you
mean, go ahead.
go ahead, Brett.
Well, I was just going to say I've never had an exit that's been the same out of all of
Uh-huh.
them. And sometimes, like when I was saying I had the false awakenings, it was as if I woke up normally. Like everything
Yes.
looked normal, and it was like there was light and everything, and I'm like, oh, I woke up, and then I wake up again. I'm like, hold on, or I try to get up, and then I feel like I weigh 1,000,000 pounds or something. That can happen.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like you were saying, people can just spontaneously going out
Yep.
seems to be like that's the gold standard, right? That's what you want. When you're in that paralysis state, usually you don't have to do much. I mean, we give people a
Yes.
lot of instructions on things that they can try if it didn't automatically happen. Like in your case, right? Just standing up worked for you.
Yep.
Usually, like you just kind of float right out, or like it'll just pop out without much help. And I mean, that's generally what's going to be the most common for people. But if that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen, like you were saying, stand up, roll out, or
Yeah.
visualizing, like we give all the people the tools for all these different scenarios.
It
Yeah.
just to reinforce what Brett's saying here, because when we got to that paralysis state, there's been so many times I got there. I'm like, oh, I'm not out of my body, or I'll try to rock and I could feel myself. It's like, oh, this isn't, nothing's working. And I'll tell Brett, hey, Brett, I spent all day, all night doing this and nothing happened. And you know what Brett told me? He says, Kevin, you were probably out of body, but you just didn't realize it.
Realize
And
it. Mm-hmm.
that's when we started to experiment, commanding it, visualizing it, having a physical separation, visualizing an orb in front of us, pulling us towards that orb, or having that floating sensation. We practice with all those different techniques, and that's what we tell people. When you wake up with those tone, not even a tone, with that voice, with that angelic Bret voice of his, when he slowly nudges you aware, we tell people go through each one of them until you go through all of them and nothing happens, then fall back to sleep. Because more often than not, you're already having some kind of experiences, but you just don't realize it. And you know what you said, Don, understanding what you're doing or where you're at, having in that paralysis state allows you to, one, keep calm, and two, make the right decisions. And yeah, and like I tell a lot of people we coach and mentor, just keep your eyes closed. When you're in that state, just close your eyes. But I get it. I say that jokingly. But yeah, so Bret, so that's it. That's what I'm going to say.
I think we naturally go out of body anyway, and I think what we're trying to do here is do it consciously so that we can remember our experiences. And once we are out of body and we consciously know we're out of body, then we can go wherever we like or do whatever we want, meet whoever we want. Yeah. Have you had experience of that? What about Bret? Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, when I've gone out of body a bunch of times, and I've met like my guide, I've met like, actually like an astral partner that I'm with outside of this life, which was really strange. And they showed me their past lives, which I didn't get at the time because it seemed like a bunch of kind of depressing lives. But to them, they got the most out of it. Like they learned the most by having struggles to overcome, and they were happy about that. But I wanted to talk about actually something that you mentioned earlier, Dawn, when you were talking about like in paralysis, you feeling like you're held down and everything like that. So I know this is going to be a big, talking point for a lot of people, because it's easy to get kind of the fear of the unknown grips us all. And I mean, I've had the same problems too, because even though we also share the same ideal or belief that you go out of body every night. Like this is just a natural thing that people are doing. And if that's the case, then there's nothing to really be afraid of, because you're doing it naturally anyway, right? It's just that we're awake for it, so it seems strange. And the paralysis part, like being held down, and how some people say they see like shadow people, or something scary that's trying to wake them up, or something sitting on top of them. So when it comes to this, there's a kind of an interesting phenomenon. And there's a term for it, an old what's a theosophical term, like almost occultish term for it, called the guardian of the threshold. And it's a tester of like acolytes, like adepts, like people trying to reach and see beyond the veil. It tests people. And that is kind of what you're going through when people are seeing like these creepy things that try to wake them up. Think of it as kind of like an anti-cheat system. Like it's trying to test you to see if you can remain calm enough. Like you must be this chill to ride this ride. It's testing your emotional state. If you can stay calm and you have the presence of mind to keep going and to kind of just get past it and ignore it, not to get overly emotional, overly scared, overly angry, and just kind of move past. And so that's why it looks different for everybody. I've had it happen to me, and it was creepy and weird, and it made me wake up because I wasn't expecting it. And after that happened, I kicked myself. And I can tell you what it is what happened if you want to hear it.
Sure.
People like a creepy story, right? But so I had woken up into my room, and it was dark. But even though it was dark, I could still see. So it was like, like the blackness of a dark room, but I could still make out everything. I didn't question that at first, because normally, I mean, I wouldn't be able to see everything. Why am I being able to see in the dark? And then I felt like I was like, oh, there's energy building up in my shoulder or something. So I sat up, and I didn't even know I was out of body. That's the part that, like, that's why this freaked me out. I didn't even know. I just sat up and I was there. I was like, oh man, it's like an energy, something building up in me. And as I sat up, my wife, who's laying away from me, sat up facing away. And I didn't think anything. I was like, oh, do you have to go to the bathroom? Right? This thing did a 180 and started choking me, like instantly. Just like, it was on me, choking me. And I was like, oh, it just surprised me. And then it whispered something creepy in my ear, like a pet name that we had. And I was like, oh, okay. But it didn't hurt. It was just more like the surprise and shock of it all. And then I kind of lost my vision, and I thought, well, this is ruined, because I didn't know that I was out of body, but it felt like, oh, my experience is ruined. I don't know if I can get out of this. I'm just going to wake up. And then it just made myself wake up. So even if it's something scary, you're not going to not wake up. You're not going to get like attacked and get hurt. It's just it's just a testing mechanism, and it's automatic. And I think it all usually happens in that kind of, and we're getting into another subject when you're talking about like different frequencies, but I think it happens usually in that kind of very near Earth or near physical dark, near physical dark zone where the energy's not that like easy to work
low
with anyway.
vibration.
Yeah, it's very low. And I think that when people spontaneously wake up into paralysis like that, I think that's the most common place that people kind of run into, and that's where this thing operates. I think it's just it's like someone's program, it's just like this automatic thing. I don't consider it like an entity that's alive that's doing this on purpose to get something from you. I think it's purely a testing mechanism, and that's it. So I just wanted to talk about that so that you don't have to be afraid. I mean, you can wake up or you can move past it. And if you're able to control your emotion and move past it, then you are rewarded. Bravery is rewarded in this practice, 100%.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, I think if you have like what you would perceive as a negative experience, you need to have that experience to get over it. It's like, get over that fear. Okay, well, we're over that fear, we can move on to the next part. But I wanted you brought up another question for you. We don't always know that we're out of body. And I think we touched on this the last time, but I remember my daughter coming in the bedroom door, but it wasn't the bedroom door, it was the bathroom door. So things are all over the place. There's little subtle differences. Yes. And I thought seriously that she had come into the room. I thought she had come into the room for some reason, and I woke up until I realized that the bathroom door and the bedroom door were in the wrong place. Everything else looked absolutely perfect. You'll have had experiences like that too, Kevin.
Absolutely. And I like how Bret describes this, but when we're in the astral, we're just seeing an energetic copy of the physical. So things might not be one-to-one because we're just seeing that vibration on a different environment, which we call the astral realm. But then again, we hear these other stories where people spontaneously came out of their body because of stress or a medical procedure or something very traumatic. And what we notice with that, when you're out of body through that method, you're really not in the astral. You're in the near, what is it? The real time zone?
Real time zone, yeah.
Real time zone, which is slower vibration, the astral, but a little bit more energetic than where you're at now. So that's the spot where majority of everything is going to look the same. You're going to see the people. You might hear the conversations. You'll see them doing compressions on you. You're going to see that stressful environment. You're going to see yourself. Then typically, once you recognize what's happening, you get more energetic. Then you go into the astral and you go beyond that. And that's why you really don't see everything exactly one-to-one, but you have that impression, I know where I'm at. I know this is my house. I know this is my bed, but it doesn't look like my house, doesn't exactly look like my room, but it is. And that's the reason why it doesn't look the same, because you're just seeing a energetic representation of the physical because you're in a different realm called the astral.
Why am I sleeping on the wrong side of the bed?
That too.
There's kind of a illustration I like to use, or at least I think about, because I love these kind of subjects, like the weird nitty gritty details of it. Like, why does it look? Nobody knows. It's like we're we have no idea how the rules work there, right? We're just
Yeah.
thrust into this strange world and trying to figure it out. And we can't really use the scientific method there because there's no physics. It's like it's just completely out the window. But so when the sun is behind you and your shadow is cast onto the ground, it doesn't look exactly like you, right? It's askew at an angle. And I feel like that's how we can apply, knowledge to the near physical. It's kind of like a shadow of all of this around us, right? All this conscious energy thrust into other frequencies nearby. And so it looks similar. And the closer you are, the more similar it looks. And as you travel, 4D travel away from this, it looks different and different and different. And everything like starts to change until it no longer looks like Earth anymore. There's something else in that space. And so I've seen my room in neon colors with paintings that I've never owned. I've seen my bedroom turned into a one-room cabin with like windows, and I'm like, what's going on? And then outside I'm looking and like the sky is just complete orange. But so it's like, okay, I must be pretty far away from the physical at this moment because everything my apartment, is gone. It's like everything that makes the building is gone and there's something else. It's very alien-esque, but like at least that's the simplest way that I can kind of explain like what I think is going on.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of like a shadow of the physical. And as you move farther away, you can't really see the shadow anymore. And then something else is there, like other energy could look completely different and foreign and alien at that point, another planet. Maybe it's not even a planet anymore. It's, who knows? That's what makes it so exciting too.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask another question before I forget this. I wanted to ask, about the sleep cycles. So Kevin, if you could answer this one. How did you find out about the sleep cycles in the best way, to set your bridge timer? Did you use other studies or did you do it yourself, your own research?
Oh, great question. It's actually two things. One, the sleep cycles is a known thing. That's a scientific thing. There's sleep 1, sleep 2, sleep 3, REM, and it's 90 minutes. So that's empirical evidence that's how we naturally sleep. But now going back to how do we distinguish like when should we do our timers? It goes all the way back to like 2009. There's actually another framework that was called Lucidology, which I and Bret we just so happened to stumble upon, and that talked about forcing yourself in sleep paralysis by using these different steps, and then from sleep paralysis you can go on and have your exit and have your adventures. So that person already did research in his own experiment on when you should set those timers. And when we started developing our system, we like the timer intervals, but we actually changed them slightly to meet more of that sleep life balance. It still has the same framework where it's like a whipsaw, then it goes up, comes down, and it plateaus. We still kept that framework, but we changed the what you call it, the intervals. So it's under a 2-hour limit. It's about an hour and I think 52 minutes long, maybe an hour 57 minutes long. And we wanted to make sure we had the same amount. We had the same structure, that framework, and just utilizing that timer over and over and over. And we realized, hey, it's not exactly like this other guy's, it's ours. And it works. And we noticed, and here we go, what Bret mentioned earlier in our discussion, this bridge timer has 9 different opportunities for you to have these experiences. And there are many, 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 many times, basically every single time I do the system, I will actually come out of body multiple times within that period. And now that we have a label at the end of each timer, we'll say 1, 2, 3, just lets you know which interval you're at. I'll be at interval 5, have this experience, wake up, have another experience, then it'd be interval 6. That's okay, something happened. What I just experienced was true. And you can have multiple experience in such a short time. It's just phenomenal. So that's how we distinguish that timer in how we want it to have those sleep cycles. And one thing I want to say here that we haven't said just yet about sleep cycles, another reason why we do the bridge timer and we sleep 5 to 6 is so we also get the right amount of hormones in our systems. We're talking about melatonin, the sleep chemical, and that cortisol chemical, which is that stress, that awareness. And so not only do we have this timer gentle with the labels, 9 different intervals, not only do we sleep 4 to 6 hours, we also have the right mix of sleepiness for our body and cortisol for our minds to be aware. Like Brent mentioned earlier, in our system, we stack different methodologies and techniques on top of each other to just better put people in a position to have an out-body experience. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I'm just thinking about it.
It might be a lot, but we're just trying to give everybody a bunch of tools, right? We're trying to cover all the bases. And so it might seem a little overwhelming. But that's why we have multiple videos talking about it, and we're also available on our Discord to talk about it too if anybody has any questions, because this is something we love to discuss. So
yeah, me too. What role then does intention play in your system? Why? Is mindset just as important as technique?
Oh yeah.
Take it away. Brett's a good explainer.
Yeah. This is one of my I like this one because for any technique, so any guide, any technique, you need to have intention. You need to kind of train your subconscious and show it that this is what you want. And one of the interesting things is that with intention over time, and for some reason, usually for me, there's like a gap of time. Like if I'm trying to train my subconscious, there's like a ramp up in terms of it listening to me. And it's almost like another person that's a part of me. It's like I have to convince them this is what I want. And through intention, through affirmation, that's how I do it. And then it does the work. So just like when we were talking about alarms and your subconscious kind of wakes you up before an alarm, it's doing work. It's waking you up and saying, hey, you need to get ready. So that same thing, that same mechanic can wake you up and give you opportunities to project out of your body because it knows that's what you want. And so it through the timer and through the training of your subconscious, both of these things mixed, right? You're trying to give yourself as many chances you can to go out of body. And one of those big ones that's very important, like you're talking about, the intention is to train your subconscious to do that work in creating an opportunity. It helps wake you up. And as like in the beginning, like when I first got out of body, before I even met Kevin, I was doing affirmation work. And that's basically what I did. Every night I wrote down, like I go out of body tonight. I'm not afraid. These are the goals that I have. As many things that I could think of that kind of just spontaneously came to me. And I would write them down once and then I'd kind of go over them. I'm like, okay, I'm instilling it in my brain. I drill it into my subconscious. This is what I want. Give it to me. And I go to bed. I would just go to bed, trusting and expecting that I would have a spontaneous projection as soon as I fell asleep. Took a few weeks, and then it started to happen. Like weird things started to happen, and I would like, as soon as I fell asleep, I would just roll right out of my body off the end of the bed. It was like somersault, just right off. And I was like, whoa, I'm there. And then I got to experiment with, after you're out of body, what can you do? But that showed me that it's a huge part. And when you look at every kind of guide and technique, that subconscious entrainment is kind of like a root in all of them. In all of them, you have them talk about, setting those goals, those intentions, the affirmations. And it does work over time. Even if you took away everything else we offered, that will work over time if you're really serious about it. It's just one of those things that complements everything else that we're doing. But yeah, I do want to stress that it's a very important part of it. And also on the flip side, if you have any doubt, subconscious doubt, disbelief, you're skeptical, you don't think you can do it, you don't believe in yourself, all these things are just a little grain of poison that will spoil the entire thing. Yeah. Because if you don't believe that you can, your subconscious in turn says, all right, you can't do it then. You don't think that you can. You don't believe it. So
whether you
I'm
believe
not
it or
going to help
not,
you.
you're going to get that.
Yeah, it's like if I don't think I can do it, then you won't. You have to, and I think that's a hard part for a lot of people is kind of getting over that doubt. If doubt in themselves being able to do it, or doubt that it's even a real thing,
Yes.
at some point you have to get past that. You have to have an open mind. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Always helps. Kevin, for somebody then who's maybe going through your program and then all of a sudden they are consciously experiencing themselves going out of body, what would you then tell them or give us some suggestions of what you would tell them to do? Yeah, okay, I'm there. What do I do now? What would they do now?
Beautiful, beautiful. You're absolutely, because when you're a beginner going out body, like Bret said, you need a goal. You need to have a focus. Wherever the tension goes, energy flows. So we tell people some basic stuff, and this is a very common goals that you'll hear within the community. One is go look at yourself. Literally turn around or find your body and look at it. Do you see yourself? Do you not see yourself? What do you see? Does it look right? Does it not look right? So that would be one of the first goals. Another goal is find a mirror and look at the mirror. Do you see yourself? Do you not see yourself? Do you see colors? Does it look like you? I remember, just a side story, one of the first times I ever looked at myself in the mirror, I could see myself, but it looks like I was phasing. There was multiple copies of myself pre-imposed on top of each other, all doing different things. And I was like, what am I looking
That
at?
like the Matrix movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. All at the same time, just keeping calm it's just so cool, because when you're in the astral, like things look as real can be. And here I am, just like tense focus on these outlines, that these copies of myself doing what they're doing. I was like, this is what they mean by looking at a mirror and seeing what you see. This is what they're talking about. And another thing is, this one's pretty interesting too, is find something and eat it. Literally
Yeah.
find something in your
Oh,
environment
wow.
and put it in your mouth. And what does it taste like? Does it taste like anything? Could you pick it up? Could it go in your mouth? All these questions will start to arise. And it's cool and all to have these experiences. But what's even cooler is when you come back to body and you start to integrate, start to ask questions, start to reflect on your experiences and see where that leads you in life. So, I did look at myself in the mirror, and I saw multiple copies. Like, what does that mean? Like, I literally saw that, and now I'm here looking at my hand, and it's as real as can be. Again, it just opens up a can of worms, and in my opinion, that's where astral projection excels. It's the information you bring back and what you do with that information. So those would be like the main goals. But of course, when you get more advanced, we talk about go look at your spirit guide, go to a different time, go to a different location, because one, like Bret mentioned earlier, there's some kind of mechanism that's, you got to be this chill to ride this ride. So when you're out of body, you have to still remain chill in order to have an experience. But
Yeah.
sometimes those experiences are predetermined, that you're confined to your room, you're confined to a specific space for the
Yeah.
time being. And
Yeah,
over
baby
time,
steps.
Yeah.
baby steps, and I have my own stories about baby steps. So once you get beyond the baby steps, you're more advanced. Go walk through a wall, like I said, find your spirit guide, go to a different dimension, find a deceased loved one. So in the
Yeah.
beginning, baby steps.
Yeah,
Go look at
little.
yourself, go eat something.
Yeah.
And
And I just want to mention too, sorry, that's a big distinction too when it comes to astral projection, is that you do not have full control. And
Yes.
people, I think, going into it sometimes, they're like, I can just do whatever I want. It's not, it's not a lucid dreamscape where only you are affecting, it's only feeding off of your thought. You are in a stable area, right?
Yeah.
That not only you inhabit, you have no idea what's going on, but also you can be watched. Your experience can be completely curated. You could be tested outside of your knowledge or your even like understanding of why. And I just wanted to reiterate that point because that's one of the big keys. One of the takeaways is say, hey, why, if this is just my mind, right? If it's just me generating all of this, why can't I do anything I want? Because
well,
it's not just
you only
yeah.
experience what you can handle. I truly believe that. I don't think you'd be put in any kind of harm's way or anything that's, too much for you to be able to cope with.
That was my experience starting out. It was all baby steps. One time I opened my bedroom door and it led into a mansion full of rooms, but no doors or windows. Like I could go into other rooms, but I couldn't get out. And I felt something watching me and I'm like, I'd like to leave. I want to get out. Like I could feel something watching me, neutral, just a neutral feeling. And it's like, then I woke up, I'm like, well, that was lame. And then so multiple things happened like that. And then like another one, I try to go out of my room to somewhere else. I give it a destination. It's like, okay, on the other side of this door, it's going to open up to X. I open it. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't it. And I go into a theater lobby. It was just this empty theater lobby. I don't know if do you want to hear this story right now?
We've got a couple of minutes. So yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I just mentioned like, this was like, I was being tested. I go into this lobby and outside there was like these pillars and from behind them came all these little like imp kind of demon, like classic demon looking thing. They're red and they had like a forked tail and stuff and they were running at me. And I was like, oh, so I composed myself and I'm like, at first I tried to just like use energy to get them away from me. And that worked a little bit, but there were too many and they were enclosing on me. And then I stopped that. I'm like, I'm using aggression. Instead, I just want to put out love, like a positive energy. And so I just kind of welcomed them and I had like a loving feeling emanate from me. All of them immediately sat down. They smiled and sat because I had passed. And it was like, they weren't actual like demons or imps or anything. They were like just a thought generated thing. It was just a thought form. And I asked my guide to appear and he appeared right there. Like he tested me or I don't know, like it tested me to make sure that I could control myself. Because if we're all going out of body with our awareness intact, if everything is created from thought, emotion is also an aspect of thinking, right? It's like a force. If you're going around like with your emotions strongly, like you can be changing everyone else's, like you can be messing up their good time, right? So it's kind of a test that you're good and you can stay calm and that you can control yourself. But yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we're out of time now. Let me tell you about Bret, Kevin. Thanks for coming back on again, honestly, and sharing the Wake to Projection blueprint with us. And you've reminded us that astral projection isn't just a rare gift. It's a skill that anyone can learn with intention and consistency and the right framework like you have been providing. So for those listening, may this inspire you to trust your practice and lean into the unknown and discover what's possible when you take, steps beyond the body. So take care and join us next week for another journey beyond the veil on Cosmic Soul Alignment. Thank you guys. Love the conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.
Awesome.